Hey, Mike Walsh here from Straight Path. I'm going to share you a set of tips. I've been reading this book called Essentialism. It was recommended to me from a business coach who's a friend of mine, and it's a really good book. I can't recommend it enough. The book I've been listening and reading to for maybe about a week now has really made me evaluate a lot of decisions. It's actually caused me to say no two times, and they weren't great no, and they weren't no's I probably would have given a week or two before. They're the right no's to give, and actually it worked out really well. Like, it was good to give the no's. It felt good. The person receiving the no ended up getting better service by hearing no, and we avoided problems on the line. But one of the thoughts that I had while listening to chapter 19, I think, in the book today, my mind started wandering about debt. Yeah, debt. I said it. It's scary. So when I said that word, probably one of two things maybe hit your mind. Well, maybe three. Maybe it's like, oh, cool, yeah, I'm glad I don't have to worry about that. Or maybe satisfaction that, hey, I beat that. Or maybe a little bit of panic, like, oh no, I got to pay this, or I got to do this, or I got to take care of that. Well, there's really multiple kinds of debt, I think. There's financial debt. We owe money to somebody. There's email debt. In the corner of my eye here, I can see. Actually, I'll read it. Give me a second. I'm going to move my video out of the way. I have a lot of unread emails. Maybe I won't tell you the exact number. It's a 4-digit number of unread emails. There's email debt, obviously. There's work task debt. There's farm chore debt for me. We have a lot of debt in life. And we accumulate debt when we live with a lie. And the lie is I can do that tomorrow. The lie is I can do more today. The lie is give me more stuff to do. Give me more things to buy. Give me more tasks to do, more emails to respond to, whatever it is. The lie is that I can do more. I can eat more. I can satisfy myself with more work or more whatever. But the lie is that we can do it and that we think, we'll do it tomorrow. And what happens in my life anyway is these things pile up on you, and they get to a point where all of a sudden you have all this stuff to do, and your list is like off the charts big, and you get overwhelmed, and it's sort of like, oh, what am I going to do? I'm in this pit. You get in this pit of debt, and maybe you've never experienced that pit of debt, whether it's financial, tasks, work, whatever, but there's a burden. The Bible talks about slavery to financial debt, but really any kind of debt, we're enslaved to our debtors. And you know what I'm talking about if you've experienced that. If you have student loan debt, if you have financial debt, if you have the same amount of unread emails I have, or projects to do, or tasks you owe, it's a crappy feeling. It's a horrible feeling. And for me, I'll get overwhelmed thinking about, oh no, tomorrow will never come. Oh no, I'll never get out of this debt. Well, there's a Bible verse I want to share, and this Bible verse goes with the book Essentialism too. The book Essentialism is not a Christian book at all, but a lot of the advice in that book, a lot of good business advice I find actually checks out with the Bible. Whatever you believe about the Bible, there's a lot of good advice in there. There's a lot of good wisdom in there, regardless of what you think about what it means. But in Matthew 6, Jesus is talking about anxiety and telling his disciples, don't be anxious. Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't worry about your clothes, your food, your shelter. Trust God, and all these other things will be added to you. But he ends what he's saying in Matthew 6:34 with, therefore, do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. In other words, don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow can worry about its own self and its own problem. You have enough problems today. And there's this tremendous freedom that comes from realizing and admitting a few things. Number one, you aren't going to get out of debt today. Whatever kind of debt it's in, you're not going to get out of debt today. There is no quick fix. The fix for any of these kinds of debt is determination, stick-to-itiveness, and an intent, present focus on what you can do today. If you have a list this big and you do this much today and you don't do things to add to your list, you don't say yes to a bunch of things to make the list longer, but you keep the bottom of the list roughly the same. I obviously know work problems happen, but if you focus on your tasks, get a lot done, don't add a lot, eventually that list gets smaller and smaller. Now, it may never completely end when we're talking about work tasks. For a lot of Americans, it may never end when we talk about small amounts of debt, mortgages or cars or whatever. I'm not Dave Ramsey here giving you financial advice. But the point is some of us can get anxious and have this bitter feeling. You can be driving along and hear the commercial about, get out of debt, or you can hear the commercial about, do you have too much to do? And you start feeling like, oh no, they're talking to me. Like, this is my commercial. Oh no, I need to listen to Chuck Woolery and fix that problem. Or whatever the commercial is. But here's the deal. You have two choices. You can focus on tomorrow and the perfect and get paralyzed with that fear and never get anything done. Or you can start taking off those chunks of work and making the list smaller. And I've been really working at taking off the chunks on the various debt lists I have. And I won't tell you all the kinds of debt lists I have, but I'm talking about work debt. So if your SQL servers, tying it back to the workday, if your SQL servers have a list of problems, you've done a health check, you've run SP Blitz, or you've had somebody like StraightPath come in and do a health check, and you have millions of things you have to fix, the millions of things you have to fix get fixed one problem at a time. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, one chunk at a time. So have a proactive focus, make some cuts, say no to some projects so you can focus on these things. Get your foundation solid, stop spending a little bit and use that little bit you would have spent to pay down your debt, stop eating. You can't see me patting my stomach, but stop eating a little bit and save those little bit of calories. You don't have to stop completely and change your diet completely to get out of your calorie debt or get into a calorie debt in this case. But small changes consistently applied over a long time make a huge difference. That's all. And, it's an obvious advice. We all know it. I just wish I listened to this more. I wish 20 years ago Mike was told the most important day is today. And focus on what you can focus today and get as much done as you can. Be here, be present, and get it done. And tomorrow will be its own problem, but tomorrow will be better. Another piece of advice there, right, or another kind of side aspect of that advice, and then I'm running out of time here. So much for keeping this video short, sorry. But another side piece of advice here related to this is tomorrow will sometimes bring its own problems. Tomorrow, in technology and business and life, you can't control tomorrow. There will be new things added to your list tomorrow, I guarantee you. Unless it's a day you're just sleeping and, you sleep the entire day away. And even then, you have to have all your customers sleep the day away, and all the developers and SAN administrators and everybody else. So problems will happen tomorrow. You can't fret about that. You can't beat yourself up about that. You can't worry about that. But what you can do is focus on some of the list today. And tomorrow, reprioritize, focus on the list, consistently get it done. I know it sounds stupid, and it sounds like I'm giving you some sort of amazing revelation here. And maybe that says too much about me as a business owner, that I'm giving you this secret advice that's not so secret. Maybe this will scare you away from working with me. But there's a freedom that comes from knowing your list is getting smaller. There's a freedom that comes from knowing you can say no to adding things to your list that don't need to be added. There's a freedom that comes from looking at your list and saying, wow, my debt's getting smaller. You feel the weight coming off your shoulder. You feel the bondage being released. It's great. So don't get into that trap of accumulating and trying to do tomorrow what you can do today. Get the small stuff done now. Focus on one thing at a time. Be here. Be present. Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't fret about yesterday. Today is the day you get. Today is the day that matters. What are you going to do today? That's all.